Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time checking it out. In today's video, I'm going to be setting up my family's 2024 budget. For the purpose of this video, I will be sharing all of the budgeting tools that I use to set up my budget, and of course, I will have all of those items linked down in the description below for those who wish to join me on this budgeting journey. You are definitely more than welcome to use whichever items that you prefer. I'm just sharing what works best for me and my family, and maybe for even those who just don't quite know where to start or what to get to begin budgeting. The budget setup is one of the most important steps that you can take when you decide that you want to budget your finances, because you have to have a thorough system in place in order to be successful. Y'all know the saying, fail to prepare, prepare to fail? I believe that is 100% true when it comes to budgeting, so that's why I want to break this specific video down, just showing you the steps of how to set up a budget. And honestly, y'all, I believe a lot of people overcomplicate budgets, like the ones I watch on TikTok or other YouTubers. I feel like they are so elaborate, and a lot of it is just not needed to be successful financially when it comes to budgeting. But truly, when it all comes down to it, all that matters is that you find a system that works best for you and your family. So please keep that in mind as we are going through this budget setup, and feel free to make anything your own. This is how I have been budgeting for the last 7 years, and I'm excited to show you how. From the moment I decided that I wanted to budget, I have been a firm believer in the cash envelope system. Now, for those who may not know what the cash envelope system is, it is basically where you categorize your expenses into select envelopes and you carry cash to pay for items within that select category. So for me, instead of carrying a bunch of individual envelopes, I like to keep all of mine within a budget binder. I purchased this binder 2 years ago from a shop on Etsy, and she no longer sells them, so I can't link it, but I will link a highly rated one on Amazon in the description below. My next must-have for budgeting is a monthly budget planner or budget book. Now, I'm a little old school and I like to write everything down with pen and paper, but if you prefer to use the computer or any kind of software, anything like that, you can definitely use that instead. But if you prefer to write things down on pen and paper like I do, I have this link for you guys. I have used some form of this book for the last 4 years, and I love it. This specific design is just my favorite. And since we have a budget binder, we need the envelopes for our cash envelope system. Now, I've never used these before. This will be my first year using these specific envelopes. To be honest, y'all, I have tried a new pack of envelopes almost every year, and I just cannot find one that I love. I decided this year that I am absolutely done with these zip close envelopes. The zippers just break or tear, and it's so frustrating. So I'm done with those, and I am moving to the envelopes that just have a fold over tab. The last thing that we're going to need are some budgeting labels to label our cash envelopes. I used these labels for the first time last year and absolutely love them. I'm just getting new ones, obviously, because I got new envelopes. These labels peel to be like a translucent on the envelope, and they cover all of the major budgeting categories. I get them in the color bronze, so they look like a rose gold color. Now that we have all of our budgeting tools, let's start by taking a look at the budget planner. So the first page of the planner is basically going to have a contact sheet, maybe in case you lose your planner. This planner has little inspirational quotes throughout, but the next main page after the contact page is going to be a look at the year ahead and financial goals. This is a great spot to sit down with your spouse and discuss which financial goals you hope to achieve this year. The next 3 pages are going to be where you can keep all of your different types of accounts, so including your bank accounts, your debt accounts, and your bill accounts. You might fill in these pages if you want quick access to your account numbers, or if you want both you and your spouse to have access to this information, you can put it all right here for y'all to reference. On the next few pages, you have some trackers. You have a savings tracker, debt tracker, and bill tracker. I told y'all I like to keep my budget simple, so I personally don't use any of the trackers. However, if seeing the numbers go up or down depending on which tracker you're using motivates you to reach your financial goals, definitely use these. After the trackers, you guys won't believe what they have in this book, and some of y'all may not even know what a check register is, but this book does have one. Checks have become a little obsolete, so I don't think this is really needed, but if you want to use it, of course, go ahead. The last main financial page is a financial summary, and this basically just shows all of the money that you have and all of the money that you owe. Now, if you use any of those first pages, great. If you don't use any of those first pages, great. Here is what matters to me. At the start of each month in their book, there is a full month calendar where you can do a month overview. I don't typically keep a regular planner as I write all of the month's events and birthdays and whatever we might have going on here in my budget planner. By entering important dates in this overview calendar, it also tells me where I can expect to spend some money in the given month. I would definitely utilize this calendar as best as you see fit. If you want to write when bills are due here, you most certainly can, or you can write your goals at the bottom. Whatever you want to do here, utilize it to the max capacity. Now, the page following the monthly calendar is the main page that I use in this planner. After each monthly overview page, we have a monthly budget page. This is my go-to page every single month to manage my budget. On this page, you can write down all of your household income, what you expect to save versus actual, your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and even a monthly summary down at the bottom. I'll go over this page a little bit more in detail here in a little bit, but I just wanted to mention that this is our page right here, y'all. Honestly, my ideal budget planner would just have 12 of these pages, and I may consider that for next year. Anyways, following the monthly budget page is a page for debt repayment. You can keep track of that there. And then after that, there are a few pages for the daily spending tracker. Now, if you want to write down all of your daily expenses, feel free to do so. But for me, that's just extra work that I don't believe is necessary. Last but not least, we have a notes page. Now, I do use this, and here's what I use it for. The first thing is to total all of our fuel charges for the month. Once I get the total, I move that over to the monthly budget page. Finally, I write down any miscellaneous expenses that need to be repaid from our cash envelopes. After that, you have the February overview page, and all of the pages repeat throughout the remaining 11 months. All right, so now I want to talk about how I set up my monthly budget pages. I also want to preface this by saying we live off of one income in our household. So my fiance's income is the only income that I will ever list up here in the income section. We save entirely everything that I make from my work. My fiance is paid bi-weekly, so every time he gets paid, I write the date he gets paid, the name of his employer, and then how much he was paid and total it up at the end of the month. That's pretty straightforward. So moving over to the savings section, you have a spot where you can put how much you budget to save and how much you actually saved. You can then compare the two and write down the difference. Since we save my entire income, and since I feel like budgets are always changing based on expenses, I don't typically fill in this section, so I just write dashes through them. But as I mentioned, if you want to keep track how much you budgeted to save and how much you actually save, feel free to do so. Now, our next section is fixed expenses, and I will tell y'all right now, I plan on doing a separate video to go into more depth about fixed and variable expenses. I want to do a separate video on how to determine all of your expenses because I also feel like that's another crucial step in setting up a successful budget. However, for the purpose of setting up my budget here on the monthly budget page, I write the name of each fixed expense under the description, and then over under the comment column, I write the amount that I have budgeted for each expense. Finally, under the comment column on the very last row, I write the total amount that I have budgeted for fixed expenses. I'm going to fill in all of my fixed expenses right now, and then we'll hop over to the variable expenses. So for the variable expenses, we're going to do them the exact same way that we listed the fixed expenses. The title of each variable expense is going to be listed under the description column. And under the comment column, I'm going to write down how much cash is available for each variable expense. Our variable expenses are our cash envelopes. And as I mentioned, I will go into a full video on variable and fixed expenses, so please do not feel overwhelmed. I will go over this whole part of the setup again when I talk about both of those expenses. For now, I'm going to go ahead and fill in my list. Don't look too much into my list of both of my expenses just yet. I just wanted to mention that just like the fixed expenses, I will total up how much in total cash I have for all of my variable expenses in the comment column down at the very bottom row. And then I also just want to touch briefly on the monthly summary section. I really don't touch this until the end of the month. I do, however, write in the first column of information that is listed. So the information that is to be listed in the first column is the budgeted amounts. The first row is for total income, and since my fiance is paid bi-weekly, I always know how much he will make in income each month. The second row is for the fixed expenses, which we have already totaled, and then the final row is for the variable expenses, which we have also already totaled. Once I have all three of those numbers written down, I do not do anything with the next two columns until the very end of the month. You will save those columns for the actual amount of each of those categories and then the difference between what you budgeted and the actual amounts that you received during the month. Now, this next part of the initial budget setup, you obviously won't have to do every month, but it is putting the cash envelope labels on the actual cash envelopes. As I previously mentioned, this pack comes with a ton of different budgeting category labels, so you can put whichever label you see fit for that category on the envelope. And if you end up getting these exact labels, just pull them apart from the white piece of paper very slowly as they can rip. I may or may not be speaking from experience. And as a reminder, I'm only making envelopes for my variable expenses. These will be the items that I will be paying cash for throughout the month. It's now time for my favorite part of budgeting, which is filling the envelopes with cash. And so if you're setting up your budget for the very first time, you'll have all new empty envelopes. I had to take my old ones out so that I can replace them with the new ones. And so that reminds me about something I wanted to mention to you guys. I carry my budget binder with me everywhere I go. With that being said, I do not keep every cash envelope in my budget binder. I only keep my 6 most frequently used envelopes in the binder. It makes absolutely zero sense to carry around the vacation envelope with potentially thousands of dollars in it when you're not even on vacation. So the few envelopes that I know I'm not going to use very frequently are going to be left locked up at home. Also, since my budget is not being started from scratch, I do have a little bit of cash left over in a few of the select envelopes that I am carrying over into the new year. For example, somehow we had $40 left over from groceries last month, so I'm adding that in with the new month's budget for my groceries. And I'm just repeating that step for all of the envelopes that I'm going to include in my budget binder, and that'll be all set and ready to go for the new year. The last step for my setup is stuffing the envelopes that I will not be carrying in the budget binder. All of these envelopes have rollover from the previous year. I'm just taking them out of the old envelopes and putting them in the new one and combining them with the new amounts of budgeted money. I did want to give one final reminder that I will be doing an entire video on variable and fixed expenses, what they are, how to determine them, how to determine how much, all of that good stuff in a separate video. I feel like that is so important that it needs its own special video. I just really wanted to show you in this one how I set up my envelopes each month, and if you're creating your own, what they look like. All right, my money saving friends, our 2024 budget is set up and ready to go. Some important notes or just things I want to recap from this video is that if you want to set up a budget just like this or similar, I have all of the items that I use linked down in the description below for you to purchase. Next, remember you can always budget and save money what works best for you and your family. It does not have to be the exact way that I do things. I will have more videos to come very soon breaking down the cash envelope system and budgeting even further. With this video, I really wanted to give you guys a glimpse of my budgeting style and the tools that I use and give you guys a chance to order these items in case you want to budget along with me. It also gives you a chance to familiarize yourself with the planner and what you want to use and to start gathering your information to create your actual budget. I didn't want to throw the whole budgeting system and information into one video, as I know when you receive a ton of information, it can feel quite overwhelming. So just get the items now, and then in the next video, we'll talk expenses. Thank you guys so much for watching and helping me set up my 2024 budget. If you have absolutely any questions about anything in this video or budgeting, let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you like this style of video or really like the topic of budgeting and you have any suggestions for what you want to see, let me know in the comments too. All right, bye y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one.